wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life, this is the Sunday Stoic.
Oh, yeah. Hey, thanks to Jace for sending me that. That is Aaron Prim on piano, and you can check out his music on the link provided in the show notes. I'm sure you'll hear that clip many times from now on. Jace, of course, was a guest host. I had many guest hosts on recently, filling in while I kind of took a sabbatical and tried to work on myself a bit, chased my own tail a bit, but I did make some progress. So thank you to Brian, Al, Dr. Greg Sadler, Dan Hayes, Ryan, Bob, and Jace for doing such a great job as guest hosts on the podcast. In fact, they did such a good job, and I heard so much good feedback from them that any one of them is welcome to co-host once a month if they desire. And if anyone else thinks they have something to say, but you don't have your own podcast, but you'd like to do an episode, let me know. Shoot me your episode, and perhaps I can put it on during the guest spot each month. I have been working on making progress. I have succeeded in some ways and failed at others, and we'll talk more about that in the future. But that's what we need to think about. What are we doing each and every day to ensure that we, ourselves, are making progress? Here's a few thoughts that I have on it, and we'll then hear from the Stoics. It is often said that the hardest part of a journey is the first step. But that is not always the case for those of us who are trying to make philosophical progress. As we learn more and more about our chosen school, we have more and more to consider as we choose our thoughts and actions. With each new bit of knowledge, our path narrows and grows more steep. Turning back is not an option, only staying still or going forward. But if we stumble, we may yet lose the progress we have made. We must, therefore, make the teachings of our school a force of habit. We should internalize small bits of philosophy at a time, memorize precepts, and put them into practice until our day feels incomplete if we have not yet done so. Only then should we try to ascend still steeper paths. Once we can consistently put one foot in front of the other without stumbling, should we consider lifting our gaze from the path to the summit above. I myself must still keep my eyes firmly on the path. These past few months, I have been working on getting back to the path from the brambles and quicksand that have diverted my attention. I must accept that I will often make missteps and stumble into dead-end pathways. I may twist an ankle, and the storm may hinder my ascent. I will likely not make the summit, but I hope to have a glorious view from wherever I end up. And perhaps you, my climbing partner, will one day stand at the summit and see the earth below, as she truly is. The Enchiridion, number 38. As in walking, you take care not to tread on a nail, or to twist your foot, so take care that you do not harm your governing principle. And if we guard this in everything we do, we shall set to work more securely. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Chapter 6, number 50. If there comes a force upon you and stops your progress, abandon it and be easy, and make a virtue of necessity. Remember that you undertook the business upon the condition of its being feasible, and never pretended to grasp at impossibilities. What was it then you aimed at? Why, to do your best in your effort. Right. And this may be effectually done, though the enterprise should happen to miscarry. Moral Letters to Lucilius by Seneca, letter number 32. I pray that you get such control over yourself that your mind, now shaken by wandering thoughts, may at last come to rest and be steadfast, that it may be content with itself, and, having attained an understanding of what things are truly good, and they are in our possession as soon as we have this knowledge, that it may have no need of added years. He has at length passed beyond all necessities. He has won his honorable discharge and is free, who still lives after his life has been completed. Farewell. When I first moved to Washington State, when I worked in the national parks one summer, I flew from Flat, Ohio to the mountains, and one of the first things we did was went on a hike in the Cascades, and everyone else was much fitter than I. They had lived and breathed at that elevation, and they were always out in the parks, and I had just come from a very sedentary kind of college intellectual background, and so my butt was kicked trying to follow them up the mountain. I lagged behind. I was watching them disappear over the bend as I tried to keep up. Sometimes making philosophical progress can feel this way. There are those who take to it much quicker than others. There are those that have certain strengths that allow them to really almost just flip a switch and live Stoicism. I myself have something deeper that needs more refining, more work before things flow that way. But as we make the journey, like Epictetus tells us, we need to be careful where we step. We need to try not to fail at the things we attempt. But what are the things that we're attempting to do? I don't mean the big projects of life, like attempting to get a raise or attempting to start a new business. If we look at what Marcus says, we're attempting to do our best. And our adventure may miscarry. It may not come to fruition. But that's not where importance lies. That's not where progress lies. Progress lies in how we attempt and how we deal with circumstance, with fortune. How do we handle it? And Seneca reminds us that the goods of life are sitting right next to us. We only have to look and see them and grab them. We act like we are so miserable when the goods of life are literally within us at all times if we choose to see them, if we choose to make progress, if we choose to grasp them. And if we can do this, make progress, and learn where to focus our attention, then we will live a complete life, as Seneca suggests. So years ago, I found out how out of shape I was by trying to climb a real mountain. The practice of Stoicism is kind of a proverbial mountain. It's steep. You can't really stray too far left or right if you want to stay on the path. And the top of the mountain is sagehood. And we don't know if anyone's ever actually made it there. But the important thing is we're further up the hill than where we started. This break from the podcast and from work in general during the holidays has revealed to me how much progress I have to make. Now, I did focus on practice. I've been meditating, some mindfulness meditation, as well as reading Marcus Aurelius and reflecting on what he had to say, then doing mindfulness, then journaling is kind of what I've been doing. And I had done that every day. I'm doing it now at least a couple times a week. I even did a week of 5 minutes of cold showers a day and other practices just to see how they worked. I've been doing a lot of reading. I've been reading the Tao Te Ching, which has been interesting. I find the way it's written to be a little hard to understand, but I see glimpses of similarities to its view and that the view of the Stoics in some ways, like this idea of detached action. So you take action without attachment to the results, for example. I've also been reading a great book, and I recommend it, called Designing the Mind. It's called, let me look here, Designing the Mind, The Principles of Psychotecture, by Ryan Bush. I'll put a link to it in the notes. It just came out. He kind of breaks down the way we think and our emotions into an algorithmic form, and he says if you think about it that way, you can find where your algorithm is wrong and fix it, and you can design your own mind. And he quotes a lot from the Stoics and the Buddhists and the Tao Te Ching, and it's I just thought it was a good read and a way to think about putting Stoic ideas into practice, and so something worth checking out. So I've been doing that. Now, where I've been struggling is the time off. I think part of it is just being away from family, not getting to travel for the holidays, but then also just being stuck at home. And I found a crack in my wall outside, which probably indicates the need for the foundation to have a repair, which caused me to spiral in kind of a rumination, like, oh my God, my house is going to fall down. I'm going to lose my equity and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I also been finding some termite issues in my wood shop away from, in the shed away from the house, which my mind focuses on those things. And then I'm finding all these little cracks in my drywall, and I'm assuming that indicates some huge problem. And it's just catastrophizing. I'm good at that. I've always been good at that. Stoicism has helped me to tamper that down. But being stuck at home, much like how when Socrates and Seneca talk about how when you travel, you're always with yourself. You can never escape yourself. Well, when you're stuck at home, you have to look yourself straight in the eye, all your neuroses and all. So I've been having this kind of yin-yang experience with wonderful progress and the ability to think about things and meditate a little bit, but at the same time fighting this other side of me and trying to integrate, trying to use Stoicism to overcome the other side of myself. And I think I'm making some progress, and trying to put less emphasis on externals, like, hey, this issue with your home, that's an external. How you deal with it, or if something does happen, like, what's the worst that could happen? Something really bad, whatever, like you'll be fine. You can live in a tiny you can live in a tiny house that you built yourself from stuff from Lowe's or the local home center. You could survive. You and your family will be okay. You're not living in, as my brother said, you're not living in a tar paper shack. You'll be okay. Meanwhile, my brother, when you know how when you look at things in perspective, you can say, well, wow, I don't have it too bad. My brother and his family have been going through a lot. They had a child born prematurely, and she's been in the hospital since November. And it's the hospital bills may well be quite expensive, and that's not the important part, of course, is how will she be, because she's got they won't let her out because they want to make sure that certain issues are not going to cause a problem, and so hopefully she gets to come home soon. So those are the kinds of things that have been weighing on me. Kind of the hard part of this time away from the mic, but at the same time, I've been seeing good progress in other aspects of life. Now, if I can bring the two worlds together, where the good stuff pushes some of that, the way I feel about some of the bad stuff away, then I'll know I'm truly making progress. I'll know that I'm grasping those goods that are always right there, as Seneca says, if we just choose to see them. So let's talk about making progress this year. Let's work on talking about things we can do, practices we can take. Let's look at this philosophy as a whole and look at it a little more deeply this year. And hopefully, at the end of the year, whether you're still hiking with me or you're off on your own, you can look back and say, hey, I'm a little higher up than I was last year. I've made some progress. Sure, we might step off the path from time to time. We might go in circles. But hopefully we'll be a little further from the parking lot than we were January 1st. Before we go, remember I have fired Patreon back up if you want to support the show. There are rewards on there, including eventually, once I get them in the mail myself, the Sunday Stoic Challenge coin. I hope to kind of build a online Stoa, a place for us to get together and talk about Stoic principles, Stoic practices, journaling habits, meditation, whatever we decide to do. It's up to those who join what we do. I hope to do that. So you can check that out at Patreon, www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. But until then, make some progress, have a great week, and seize the day. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to the Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review the Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com. And as Steve always says, Carpe Diem.